In today's video, we're going to be talking about the role that Binance and its CEO played in the fall of FTX. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know that we've dropped about 3 videos in regard to the FTX saga. It's a playlist. You'll find it linked in the description. We did one talking about SBF's or Sam Bankman-Fried's early life. We talked about the company or the news site that brought awareness to this whole situation. They exposed Alameda Research's balance sheet and how it was mostly filled with FTT, which is FTX's native token. Now, Alameda Research is also owned or founded by the founder of FTX, so it raised some questions. After that, we talked about Dirty Bubble Media, which is basically a pseudonymous crypto researcher that decided to look into the case. After reading the CoinDesk article, they were like, okay, is Alameda Research insolvent? Now, in this video, we are going to, as mentioned earlier, talk about how Binance dealt the final blow. And it did this across 4 days, from 6th November to about 9th November. Welcome to the channel. We publish tutorials, video essays, and basically content around cryptocurrency and the blockchain industry. So I'm going to be using an article that details the timeline of how things happened from November 6th, where Binance got involved, up until bankruptcy. On November 6th, the CEO of Binance tweeted that due to recent revelations that have come to light, Binance would liquidate its holding of FTT tokens. Now, this came after the Dirty Bubble Media article had come out saying Alameda Research seemed to be insolvent. So Binance was holding about 5% of the total amount of FTT in the market, which was about $580 million worth of currency. Now, this came about because Binance back in 2019 invested in FTX, was one of the initial investors in the company, and basically exited its shareholding the other year to receive $2.1 billion in Binance's own stablecoin, which is BUSD, and the FTT token. So CZ tweeted that as part of Binance's exit from FTX equity last year, Binance received roughly $2.1 billion equivalent in cash, but due to recent revelations that have come to light, they have decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on their books. Now, if you're in the crypto space, you know that this set alarms off. That's why people are insinuating that maybe CZ had a hand in the collapse of FTX. However, we must keep in mind that FTX was being fraudulent. So whatever happens was not really Binance's fault. It was started from FTX. CZ also mentioned that they are not really against anyone, but also went ahead to mention that they do not support people who lobby against other industry players behind their backs. So if you did not know, Sam Bankman-Fried was making a lot of political donations and lobbying to stricten, is that even a word? Make strict the regulations around cryptocurrency in Washington. And CZ was really not for it because they're all in the same industry and it's a budding industry and there's already a lot of shade being thrown towards it. So he felt like it's not really the right thing to do, mostly coming from one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges at the time in the business. So moving on to Monday, 7th November, Sam Bankman-Fried came to Twitter and was like, hey, a competitor is trying to go after us with false rumors and FTX is fine, assets are fine. This guy was just lying the whole time. He didn't identify who he was referring to, but in another tweet, he tagged CZ saying that I would love it, CZ, if we could work together for the ecosystem. How do you go and say what you said before and then come back and try to, be buddy-buddy? It's just two-faced from my, perspective. So that's what happened on Monday, 7th November. He came out and said, no, there's nothing going on. We are good, assuring FTX users that, we're in a great place. On 8th November, Tuesday, CZ tweeted that FTX has asked for their help. So FTX reached out talking about how they need Binance to help them protect their users. And Binance, being the angel that it is, said, you know what? We'll come through and help you. So they signed a non-binding letter of intent saying that they would fully acquire FTX.com to help with the liquidity crunch. The main point here to focus on is that it's non-binding. So CZ said, we are going to help you out. Binance said, we are going to help you out. But first, we need to do due diligence. Then FTX's CEO at the time, SBF, came out and said, hey, things are looking up. Things have come full circle and FTX.com's first and last investors are the same. We have come to an agreement on a strategic transaction with Binance for FTX.com, pending DD, ETC. DD standing for due diligence. Moving on to the next day, 9th November, Wednesday, the rumor started to circulate that, yo, FTX's balance sheet, there is a hole in it. And CZ came out suddenly and said, yo, we are not doing it. We are not going to acquire FTX because the situation is bad. Right? In the beginning, this is the tweet that he put out. In the beginning, our hope was to be able to support FTX's customers to provide liquidity, but the issues are beyond our control or ability to help. And then that was basically how he crashed FTX, because now FTX was in a position where the one company that had the resources to acquire it had said, yo, I don't want to touch that. Things are not looking good, and I would rather, protect my interests. He went ahead and tweeted also, sad day, tried but emoji crying. Now, Thursday 10th November, Bankman-Fried comes back to Twitter and says, guys, I f***ed up. I should have done better. Now, FTX's future was seriously in doubt. People were scrambling, trying to figure out, yo, is this going under? And this is all happening within a period of like 10 days. It's crazy how FTX went under. Friday 11th November, the very next day, FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And with that, it also closed the US branch of FTX along with Alameda Research. Now, Bankman-Fried also was replaced as the CEO by a guy called John Ray III, who is a lawyer who focuses on restructuring and turning around companies that have been involved in some criminal type of activities. Hours before the collapse was confirmed, CZ warned that the crypto market was facing a 2008 style crisis with more failures to come. He told a conference in Indonesia that the global financial crisis was probably an accurate analogy to this week's events, referring to the week that had just passed. And that is how FTX dissolved.